All right. So sorry for the last minuteness of this, but it's just the way things are with me now. I kind of have to share things as they share, and probably be doing this more often and maybe on a fairly regular basis. Um, and so that's what I'm doing. And if you can attend and feel drawn to attend, then that's wonderful. And if you can't, maybe you can watch the video later if you'd like to. That's the only way right now that I can see. And so yesterday I put up a video, and I don't know if you've all seen it or not, showing some pretty drastic changes in my body. And then I noticed a couple of things as a result of that. One is that people were very happy for me, which is nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. And maybe misunderstanding what I was actually happy about. And so I want to clarify that, and then go share some things about what's going on that I have yet to share with anybody but the facilitators. It feels like it's time to share about that. And then also what happened last night. So a few things to talk about, and then I'll just kind of open it up to questions as we go, I suppose. So the first is that thank you, those of you who sharing trust and support for this process. It is very, very helpful. And it's actually, that's what I was super, super happy about, because I could actually feel the prayer, the trust, and the energy that you were sharing with me during this process. I mean, the changes themselves, the physical changes themselves were absolutely amazing, no doubt. And it's something that as a therapist, I have been able to facilitate for others. But it's very difficult to facilitate for oneself, that degree of dramatic change. Imagine your vertebrae moving, a half an inch to an inch, just with a light. You're not pressing anything, it's just a connected touch, and not just one vertebrae, but like from the middle of your shoulder blade up to the bottom of your neck, all adjusting and like moving. It was really incredible. And then the other bones and joints in your body doing similar. Your toes, the joints actually moving in such a way that you could visibly see the readjustments, not as an intentional movement, right? So this was all autonomic. I didn't have a choice in the matter. My body was simply doing what it was doing. And it was all as a result of trust. And I didn't have the thought, I'm going to heal this, or this should be healed, or this is a healing. That was not the intention. That was not the thought. That wasn't the expectation, not the goal. It is trust, because that is my essential nature. And I believe that when you explore the nature of your being enough, at some point you'll realize you were born into this world completely trusting. That trust is lost as we develop, but it's never dead. And that trust is the essence of your being. The question is, do you trust your own body in that open way that you were born with? And that's where I'm going with this. It's to trust the intelligence, sentience, awareness of the body that's beyond the ego's desires, intentions, and fears. And so it's both incredibly inspiring from like the inner space point of view. There's this feeling of rightness, a tremendous feeling of rightness as a result of doing this at the level that I'm able to trust now. But it's also terrifying. I mean, this wouldn't be what it is if it weren't terrifying. Right? There is no such thing as trust if you can't look into the abyss and know that you need to enter in anyway, right? If it feels safe, well, there's no trust there. It just feels safe. It's easy. There's no challenge to it whatsoever, right? And so when I showed the video of, I can move, in these ways that I couldn't just a day or even the day before that, the response was, he's healing. And my response to that is, that's not the point. It's completely not the point. Although I respect that is maybe a natural aim and desire for someone we love or care about. And I really appreciate that you love and care about me. But this process I'm going through isn't really just about me. This is opening up a potential for human beings in general. And what you're projecting onto me, it may be actually a lot about you. You might actually feel into that. And so I'm getting emails, which is I love and I so appreciate. And I'm sorry I can't reply back to all of them, because even though my spine is aligned in some pretty amazing ways, I've still got the pain. Just generally speaking, there's still a lot of pain. And I can't type very long without being in a quite painful situation for a long period of time. And so I may not be able to reply back to a lot of you for some period of time. My apologies for that. Just doing the best I can. But so this is going to kind of segue into something, a broader vision here in a moment. But so the emails I receive kind of fit into three categories. One is just response like sending trust. And it's a beautiful thank you. And that's what I'm feeling. I mean, like this, in some cases, I'm feeling individuals' prayers. It's so beautiful during this process. Seems like every evening for the last 3 days, I think, from between 7 and about 8:30 at night, my body goes into this incredibly deeply autonomic state. For lack of a better term, super high frequency, just keeps increasing, and then my body does its thing, and then these adjustments happen. During that process, there is still some how do I say? There's still the egoic mind there observing and giving its thoughts, right, in the process. It's just that those thoughts don't really mean much. They're kind of, it's almost like this trust is like, imagine you're climbing Mount Everest and there's this huge avalanche coming down the mountain. And that voice of fear is like a single mountain climber halfway up in the path of the avalanche, standing boldly and saying, stop, go on. It's like that. But that, I feel that that's the case in part because, of course, I've committed to this trust journey completely. Just by posting these videos, I'm all in, right? I'm not holding anything back because this isn't just about me, right? It's about all of our essential natures. And so when I receive the emails of trust, it's so helpful, of course, but during this experience, I'm also feeling the energy of individuals' trust. And in some cases, I'm seeing faces that go along with the energy that's sent. And maybe that's just some psychological trick, I don't know. But I'm just describing the experience. I'm not trying to create an ideology or metaphysics out of it. I'm just describing right now the direct experience that I'm having. And while this is happening, all these changes, it's very tempting for the mind to go, this is a healing, this is a healing. But I can see behind that statement, there's an insecurity. There's a desire to glom onto a goal, which isn't trust. Which isn't trust. It may be a healing. Or it may be actually just the manifestation of a vision I had 4 days ago, which I will explain. Was 4 days ago? I think it was the 15th or the 19th now. Yeah, so 4 days ago, which I'll explain here in just a moment. The other emails are advising me to go to this healer or that healer, do this therapy or that therapy. And they're supportive in that they obviously care about me. So I'm super thankful for that. That is love, but it isn't trust. It isn't trust, right? It's, and I'm not saying it's not trust for me. I'm saying it's not trust for the body. Like the body doesn't have this capacity to do whatever it needs to do. So we're going to go to somebody who's going to work their magic equation on us. It might be an intentional healing. It might be a touch and massage or whatever. I'm not saying that any of that's wrong. I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that I didn't do that. And I am a therapist. Like I'm a trained therapist. People come to me for that, or at least used to. It's illegal for me to do it in the States. But in any case, so I'm not judging any of that as bad. I'm just saying for my path right now, and what seems that the world needs is for me to do this, even if it means going into paralysis. And so when I receive those letters, in a sense, it's also helpful because each of those letters become like little voices in my mind, like go see, Joe Dispenza, or go see this particular, I don't remember all the names of people. It's the only one I know because I've got a lot of repeats for that one. By the way, apparently Joe Dispenza got some good stuff. So if you're looking for it, there you go. I don't know personally, but I've gotten a lot of emails about that. And with each one, there's this, it's like a new mountain climber on that mountain in front of the avalanche going, stop. But it's good to see because it's like with each one, there's a part of my body that sort of resonates with the doubt that's behind the message, right? Now, and so that's helpful for me to see because then I can trust that area and it opens up. And that's what I'm just noticing over and over and over again. And also, some of you, at some point, I'm just trusting my body. Literally, it gets up and just does these things. At some point, maybe someone will send a message, you need to see such and such a person. My body will just send an email to that person. I don't know. None of this is pre-planned on my part. It's just, I'm just following trust, like a hound down the trail, scenting, not looking ahead, just following the moment. So that's kind of what's going on with that. The third type is those who somehow have opened up to trust to some degree, and they're recognizing that just this process that I'm going through and their exploration and sending energy of trust to me seems to be opening up something within themselves. They're seeing things about themselves that they hadn't realized, areas of stuckness where there's a lack of trust. And they're allowing this trust to kind of fill them up. And it's rapidly changing the way they're interacting with their own body and the world around them in a positive way. Great. The key point here is that we trust for the sake of trust, not to get something out of it. Because if we're trusting with a caveat or with a clause to get X out of it, is that really trust? That's not trust, right? I love you if you love me back ain't love. That's just simply not love, right? And so you either love or you don't love. You either trust or you don't trust. There isn't, that's it. And so that's what I'm doing is just with this physical condition, everything on the line, jumping into trust. And some people said it's very brave or courageous. I wouldn't say it's even that. I simply don't seem to have a choice anymore. It's as if the energies of doubt and fear and desire for techniques and knowledge and all of that stuff have gotten so weak within the body that all that's left is a huge wellspring of trust. And so it's just like that's a natural flow that your body will go in the direction that it's easiest to flow. The trust is the easiest flow right now, right? Does that make sense? And it doesn't mean that it's still not terrifying from time to time. So that leads us into the next thing. But before I go on, does anybody have any questions about what I just said? All right. If you do, go ahead and type in, and I can get to it at the earliest opportunity. All right. And so I shared this with the facilitators 5 days ago. And so if I get anything wrong here, correct me if there's anything I miss in this that seems important, please, type it in and I can get to it. 4 days ago, again, around the same time, 7 o'clock-ish or so, since 7 and 8:30, my body went to this autonomic state and went and sat in meditation. And its energy built up in the body, and I entered a mystical state where I could see the energy in my neck. There's such disharmony in my upper back, up my neck, like tremendous disharmony, like the nerves themselves are in a panicked state, fearing their death, something like that. Now, I'm talking about the nerves, not my psychology. So I was in a very calm, clear state. I'm just describing what the nerves were communicating. And I noticed this anxiety building and building. It was terrifying because as the anxiety is building, now my psychology is actually going, oh shit, what's going on here? It's actually getting quite painful. Am I, what is this, some serious damages going on here? That kind of, those thoughts were occurring. But as it was ramping up, the anxiety in the neck and in the nerves built and built, and it was like this super high frequency. There was also another energy of this feeling of trust, like this just trust. And it felt when that occurred, when that thought, or it's not thought, when that realization occurred within me, I realized I had to trust even this anxiety in the neck, even this pain in the neck. And that through this trust, another energy was there, was this fullness of rightness throughout the body, and another type of building of energy that was super intense in the neck. So we've got this anxiety, we've also got this brilliant light of trust, for lack of a better term, that's there. And energy frequency gets so high. This is what I saw. The energy frequency gets so high that everything freezes. It's like the neck is welded together, short circuits or something like that, that leads to paralysis. And then I saw that this is a symbol for what's happening in the world. That my nervous system is reflecting, at least in the neck, reflecting the general state of human beings, the mind state of human beings in the world, an increasing anxiety and inability to be to navigate the future, uncertainty, panic, disharmony, a desire to glom onto something. And we're losing our rational minds in this process, and losing our relationships and losing trust as a result of that. All of that's going on. Of course, we can see our leaders are, they're not leaders, it's all up in the air. Basically, if you read The Unbound Soul, you get a sense for what I'm talking about, the coming chaos. But that it all has to freeze. At some point, it'll just all lock up and freeze. The whole thing will shut down. And it has to go through this shutdown state for a time in order for life to renew. Right? There's something beyond this shutdown that's incredibly beautiful, that's unspeakably beautiful, and that my body seems to be representing that. Now, that all might be complete bullshit, some egoic story that my mind is telling me. I'm just telling you what the experience was. It's not a belief. I'm just sharing you the experience, what I saw, and I'm conveying it to you. Turn it into whatever you want. I'm trusting you to do with it as you please. You could say it was all just narcissism. This guy thinks he's the savior of the world with his stupid neck problem. Or maybe this is helpful for me too. Maybe I could just trust a bit more. Right? Maybe I can explore this. Maybe I can join in on this process because there's something beautiful about it. Right? And forget, is it going to actually shut down or not? Because if we trust, that becomes less relevant what the outcome is going to be. So that brings me to, somebody made a comment, it makes so much sense, right on track, thank you. Real quick with your heads, are you guys smelling what I'm stepping in? Are you following where I'm going with this? So anything less than this is just simply isn't trust. That's okay, but I can't play the not trusting game anymore, not to any significant degree, which I'm going to contradict here in just a moment. Human beings. So last night, same thing happened. So yesterday's video, I showed the increase in range of motion and all of that, still there. My range of motion in the up down has also increased tremendously. I couldn't hardly move up and down at all in yesterday's video. So now I've got about half range of motion with that. But yesterday, 7:30-ish or so, my body went through the same, got up from what I was doing, went off to the side here where all this seems to happen, and went into this autonomic state. It's always in an autonomic state, first of all, but in much more increased autonomic state. And the intensity of this energy of trust and the adjustments in the body were so dynamic, so intense, but it's all the energy stopped right about the mid neck. Like there was this blockage there. Have you ever seen anybody welding? The arc welder's light. And you can't look at that with the naked eye. You'll go blind, right? So they have to wear a shield that has a filter so that they can look at the light while they're welding. In my inner vision, it was like this arc welder's light, arc welding thing going on in my neck there. And it was unbearably painful. But it was like watching a car accident when you're driving down the road where you kind of can't take your eye off of it, but you wish you could. That was what was going on. And this pain was radiating down my arms and across my chest and around my back as a result. And it just kept increasing to the point where I don't know if I can trust this. I mean, it's so intense. It's so intense and so painful. The feeling was like just 2% more energy and I'm in paralysis. And the answer to that was, that's what needs to happen. Or at least that's the feeling, is I need to go into this more. I'm not projecting that there's a healing coming on. I believe it's entirely possible this will lead to a paralysis, at least temporarily. I don't know. I would like to say I don't care. When I go into the place of trust, it is what it is. It doesn't know. I mean, there's this feeling it's got to flow into this, and this can lead to paralysis, and it will be what it will be, or it could lead. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's hard to explain. It doesn't matter from that trust point of view, but from that mountain climber's point of view, in that moment, it really mattered. It really mattered. And I'm sharing this with you just because maybe you're going to go through something similar in your life. I mean, it may be your marriage, it may be, someone you really love dying, or cancer, or who knows what it could be. We don't know. I mean, the world's ever chaos. This will manifest in the way that it's right for each individual, to test each individual's trust. And that's really what this is. It's just a test of trust, not from some outside God, but from the very essence of your being within your own body. Do you trust your body and your essential nature and the flow of the universe, or not? If you don't, you'll be in survival mode the rest of your life. You live to survive. Something's always holding you back. Something's always keeping you from walking the razor's edge of life, keeping you projecting into the future or into the past to avoid the present moment, because it's either boring or it's terrifying. And I can tell you, walking this, it's neither boring, certainly is terrifying, but it's also incredibly awe-inspiring. It's awe in both senses of the words, awesome and awful, right, simultaneously. And whether that will be the case tomorrow or not, I can't say. I'm just describing what's going on right now. Again, anything that my mind projects of what this is going to turn into, I chalk it up to bullshit. Or it's just unhelpful. It's the mountain climber on the mountain, standing in front of the avalanche, preaching some bullshit. It's like, okay, bye-bye. It's not going to help, not in the long run. Right. All right. And so I think, did I cover everything I said I was going to cover in this process? I'm quite tired. This is an exhausting process I'm going through, and I may have missed something. If there's anything I've missed, or if you have any questions or comments, please type them in. See some people's fingers clicking, so we'll give it a few minutes. Marcan says, thank you. It's perfect timing for all of us. Well, thank you. I hope so. Thank you for being here. Darlene says, thank you for sharing. Dan says, without such a high level of awareness, how can we know when to trust and when to act? Okay, so this is an excellent question. I don't believe there's a shortcut to this. Like this ability to trust that I'm talking about, where it has so much momentum that there isn't any significant other choice or any meaningful other option, is the result of years of exploring the body, the nature of thoughts and emotions, respecting, accepting, appreciating, and loving, and trusting to the degree that you can. It's years of buildup. If you've taken the TOA course, the Oceans of Awareness course, that will save you a lot of time. Although, I mean, basically what I'm describing is something like 20 Oceans of Awareness. I'm kind of conveying 20 years or so of my explorations and presenting it to you in a way that will hopefully save you some unnecessary time and scars that would otherwise be the case. An invitation for those who are ready for it, not something anyone should do, right? But it would be unfair to say, it'd be like taking somebody who's never swam before, taking him over to the deep end and throwing him in and saying, okay, now relax and swim. It's like, it just doesn't work that way, right? There's going to be panic, but you can start simply by loving or respecting, accepting, and appreciating the body and observing it as if it were its own sentient being, as if it had its own intelligence, right? Because that's what we basically are objectifying our bodies. And that's a lot of why we suffer. And so instead of objectifying, we start to respect as if the body had its own intelligence and life awareness. Somebody's unmuted. I just keep hearing a squiggly sound in the background. I think it's Moreland. If you can mute yourself, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, let me see if I get the camera back. Oh, there we go. There's the camera back on me. Dan, did that answer your question? All right. So now, Margaret Moreland says, please do not allow paralysis into your neck either. Sorry, it was a direct message. Sorry, Margaret. I didn't realize it was a direct message. Again, that's distrust. Trust is allowing. I have to allow. As terrifying as it is, I have to allow. So that is what it is. I'm following this process. It's leading where it's going. The body's doing its thing, and I'm just an observer on occasion with an ego that's going, stop. There isn't an option to disallow this at this point. So if that makes anything understandable there, I don't know. Hopefully that's relatable in some degree. So Ted says, I believe the trust that you speak of is made known to me by a vision of a babe nursing from its mother's breast. Yes, it's very much like that. Very much like that. It's pure. And it's incredibly beautiful. And while in this, how do I say this? That type of trust creates the effect of this field of rightness throughout the body. And I don't mean rightness in like a moral sense, like it's good or evil. I mean like harmony, like an energetic field of just harmony and clarity. It's extremely beautiful. That the best word I can describe is rightness. This is just knowing that whatever this flow is simply what needs to happen. And if I were to say there was anything that where I see it flowing is that it will probably take me into, I mean, I say probably there. I say probably there as a way of softening the message that it will take me into paralysis, at least temporarily. And if I were to give percentages, like 100%. That's there's no sense that this is just going to go away and become a healing. I'm going through something. But again, it doesn't matter. The point here is that I have to go wherever the body's going. The outcome is not the point. So I'm more than happy to be wrong that paralysis didn't occur. This isn't about like, justifying a premonition or something like that. That's not the point here at all. This is not about the ego at all. This is just, if anything, it's about an opening of the ego, not a closing of the ego, not a I said this and it has to be true thing, that which is just another guy in the avalanche going, gone. All right. Anything else? If not, we can sign off. All right. Thank you all so very much. I hope that you found this helpful. Oh, actually, before we sign off, did you find this helpful in any way? And if so, can you articulate how it was helpful? And if it wasn't helpful or created a lot of fear, you might share that too. And I won't say the name who said it. If there's some thought of you should do this or shouldn't do that or whatever, please share it. I won't say the name. I'm sorry for sorry for saying someone's name before it was a direct message. I should have looked carefully. Yes, reinforces my own trust is one of the messages. And if I'm very, very honest about this, and you also are very, very honest about this, you're going to see things within you that are holding you back. And if that's the only thing that ever comes out of this beyond paralysis or healing, which I'm kind of ambivalent toward right now, that's actually not true. Really, the flow of the body is towards paralysis, I gotta say. It really is. It's so strange. But and maybe it'll just be for 5 minutes. I don't know. That's the little guy in the mountain range trying to hope. That's hopeful thinking right there. It's just gonna be 5 minutes. Someone says, now, yes, now I'm certain that I do not know. When you go deeply enough into the self, you will realize that is the essential thing that is true. You know that you don't know. And that's the only thing you can say with certainty, is that you know that you don't know. And there's a great catharsis in that. That's the beginning of trust. Yes, helpful from a reminder perspective to remember to move into trust mode where I haven't been for several weeks. Wonderful. Trust is our default, our primary nature, the nexus point. It's interesting that that's actually true. One cannot rest in the nexus point without trust. And maybe the nexus point is trust. Taking it further, maybe you are trust, and that's all you've ever been. This inspires, since she wrote it in her text, I'm going to have to say the name. Hopefully that's okay. Thumbs up. This inspires Bernadette going through pregnancy. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. All right, pregnancy. Yay, there's an adventure. Weeks away from birthing process. Oh my goodness, there's a real adventure. Trust for you. Beautiful. Yes. All right. I'm not sure what to make of that last sentence. Also, yes, from an awareness mode as well. So I'm guessing that this comment is related to a prior comment, which it's out of context read alone. So we'll have to let that one go. We can feel that we know that trust is right. And now this is the interesting thing. There have been a number of studies on regret in various populations throughout the world. And when asked what people regret, almost like a huge percentage, I don't know what the percentage is, but the vast majority of people regret, it's not that they regret doing things, they regret not doing things. They regret not trusting themselves to take a risk, right? They do the tried and true path. I do what my father or mother told me to do, or what society tells me to do, become this or that job, or marry this or that person, even though inside I'm really not there, but it's safe. It's really a statement of distrust about oneself, right? Like, here's a statement I'm going to make. It's a bold statement. This is important. Like, if you fully trust the body, if you fully trust your sex organs, they will guide you to the person who's fit for you, and turn off for everybody who's not. You will know clearly, without doubt, who is a psychological, chemical, and current life path trajectory fit with you. It doesn't project the future. but in this moment, right? And to the degree that you distrust, you'll be attracted to relationships that will bring out that distrust. It can never be actually hidden. Your hesitancy is evident in your bodies. People who have the eyes to see it. You might as well just written it all over your forehead. You can't hide it. And it's terrifying when you realize this about yourself. You can't actually really hide anything. You can hide individual thoughts, but you can't hide what motivates those thoughts. The insecurity in the body, the disconnect, the lack of communion. That is readily apparent. Neon sign. And when you get the eyes to see that, you'll realize that we're all kind of suffering from the same thing. Then the danger is that you try to become a savior, which again is distrust. You don't trust them to trust themselves. Right? So this is at every level of this, there's always this walking of the razor's edge, which is trust, right? Or falling into distrust. And there's so many avenues for distrust as we go through this. Someone says, hallelujah. Cheers. I think that may be a good place to stop. Thank you so much for showing up. And at any random moment, I may send out another email for another meeting like this. We'll see. And thank you all for coming.